The gun was cold against Naomi's temple. She could feel Ji-hun's body tense beside her, every muscle coiled like a spring ready to snap. 3 masked men surrounded them in the garden, and the one holding the gun smiled behind his mask. If you want to see how a simple waitress ended up here, stay till the end and don't forget to subscribe. But let's go back to where it all started. Tuesday afternoon in Seoul, and Naomi Brooks was exhausted. 24 years old, 2 years in Korea, and she was still just another face in the crowd. Another immigrant waitress in Itaewon sending money back to Lagos, working doubles until her feet screamed and her smile felt painted on. She'd served lunch to over 50 people that day, and not one had looked her in the eye. Not one had seen her as anything more than the person bringing their food. The restaurant was finally empty. Naomi untied her apron, her manager nodding his approval for her to leave early. She stepped onto the street, breathing in the cool October air. Seoul rushed past her in its usual chaos, cars honking, people shouting into phones, the city alive with 1,000 conversations she wasn't part of. She was nobody. Invisible. Safe in her insignificance. Then she saw the woman. Elderly, elegant even in simple clothes, stepping into the crosswalk. Naomi noticed her because of the way she carried herself, spine straight, head high. Like royalty pretending to be common. The light was green for pedestrians. The woman walked with confidence. Naomi heard the truck before she saw it. The screech of failed brakes, the desperate horn, the engine roaring like a wounded animal. The truck blasted through the red light, and time seemed to fracture into slow motion. The woman was directly in its path. People on the sidewalk screamed. No one moved. Naomi moved. She didn't think. Thinking would have stopped her, would have reminded her that heroes die in traffic accidents, that she had a family depending on her. But her body was already running, already crossing the distance, already slamming into the woman with enough force to send them both sprawling out of the truck's path. They hit the pavement hard. Pain exploded through Naomi's shoulder, her head cracked against concrete, and she tasted blood. The truck roared past, missing them by inches, and crashed into a storefront across the street. Naomi's ears were ringing. Her vision swam. But she forced herself to focus on the woman beneath her. Blood ran down the elderly woman's temple, her arm bent at a wrong angle, but her eyes were open. Sharp. Calculating. Alive. You, the woman said in perfect English, her voice steady despite the pain. You saved my life. Naomi tried to speak but her head was spinning. People surrounded them now, phones out, calling for help. Someone was pulling Naomi off the woman, checking her injuries. She heard sirens approaching. Anyone would have done it, Naomi managed to say, wincing as someone pressed cloth against the cut on her head. The woman's eyes never left hers. No. Not anyone. You. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics swarmed them both. Naomi tried to refuse treatment, mumbling about hospital bills she couldn't afford, but they insisted. A concussion, they said. Possibly cracked ribs. She needed observation. Through the haze of pain and shock, Naomi saw the woman being loaded into the same ambulance. Their eyes met again. The woman smiled, and something about that smile made Naomi's stomach tighten with an emotion she couldn't name. At the hospital, Naomi woke in a private room. Not the shared ward she'd expected, but an actual private room with cream walls and soft lighting and silence. Her head throbbed. Her ribs ached with every breath. She reached for the call button but froze when she realized she wasn't alone. The elderly woman was in the bed next to hers, awake, watching her with those sharp eyes. Her arm was in a cast, bandages wrapped around her head, but she looked remarkably composed for someone who'd nearly died. You're awake, the woman said. Good. We need to talk. Naomi's throat was dry. Are you okay? Broken arm. Concussion. Nothing that won't heal. The woman paused. You took the worst of the fall. You turned your body to protect mine. I didn't think about it. Exactly. The woman sat up straighter despite her injuries. You acted on instinct. Pure instinct to save a stranger. Do you know how rare that is? Naomi didn't know how to respond. I should go. I can't afford this room, and I have work tomorrow. You will marry my son. The words hung in the air like smoke. Naomi laughed, then winced because laughing hurt her ribs. I'm sorry, what? You heard me clearly. The woman's face was completely serious. You saved my life. That debt cannot be repaid with money or gratitude. You will marry my son. Ma'am, I think you hit your head harder than they realized. I'm just a waitress. I don't even know your name. I appreciate the private room, but I really should go. My name is Yun Soo Han. The woman said it simply, like it should mean something. It didn't. Naomi shook her head. That's nice. I'm Naomi Brooks. But seriously, I need to leave. Look up my name. Something in the woman's tone made Naomi pause. She reached for her phone on the bedside table, typed the name into the search bar. The results loaded. Her blood turned cold. Articles. Dozens of them. Photos of the woman in her bed standing beside powerful men. Headlines screaming about the Han family. Korea's most powerful crime syndicate. Organized crime. Political connections. Rumors of violence. The matriarch who'd held the family together through wars and betrayals. Yun Soo Han. Untouchable. Legendary. Feared. Naomi's hands shook. You're joking. I never joke about family. Yun Soo's eyes were kind but unyielding. You saved my life, Naomi Brooks. Now you belong to us. No. No, I don't. I helped someone. That's it. I'm going home. Naomi tried to get out of bed but her head swam and she collapsed back against the pillows. You can't go home. Not yet. My accident wasn't an accident. Someone tried to kill me today. The truck's brakes were cut. This was an assassination attempt. Yun Soo let that sink in. And you, my dear, are now a witness. Possibly a target. Naomi's mouth went dry. What? You need protection. My protection. And in return, you will marry my son. This is insane. This is survival. Yun Soo's voice softened slightly. I understand you're frightened. But I'm offering you something precious. Safety. Family. A future. I have a family. In Lagos. I have a life. You had a life. Now you have a destiny. Before Naomi could argue further, the door opened. The man who entered made the room feel smaller. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than Naomi made in 6 months. His face was beautiful in a dangerous way, sharp jaw, intense eyes, lips set in a hard line. He moved like violence contained in human form. Everyone in the room seemed to hold their breath. He went straight to Yun Soo, speaking rapid Korean, checking her injuries with gentle hands that contradicted everything about his appearance. Then his eyes shifted to Naomi. She felt pinned by that gaze, like a butterfly on a board. This is her, he asked his mother in English. This is Naomi Brooks. She saved my life. Yun-soo smiled. Naomi, this is my son, Han Ji-hun. Ji-hun approached Naomi's bed. She wanted to shrink back but forced herself to stay still. He studied her face, her injuries, something unreadable flickering across his features. Thank you, he said quietly. His voice was deep, controlled. For saving my mother. I just did what anyone would do. No. He reached out, and Naomi flinched, but his touch was surprisingly gentle as he examined the bandage on her head. Most people would have looked away. Pretended not to see. You ran toward danger. His fingers brushed her temple and she shivered. That makes you either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Naomi whispered. Something almost like a smile touched his lips. Mother says you'll marry me. Your mother is delusional from her injuries. Now he did smile, and it transformed his face. My mother is many things. Delusional isn't one of them. He stepped back. You need rest. We'll talk tomorrow. There's nothing to talk about. I'm leaving tomorrow. Ji-hun and Yun-soo exchanged a look. Ji-hun turned back to Naomi. My mother's accident was an attempt on her life. Professional. Well planned. The people responsible will know there was a witness. You. He let that sink in. Outside this hospital, outside our protection, you're exposed. Vulnerable. An easy target to eliminate. Naomi's heart hammered. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to save you. Ji-hun's voice was matter-of-fact. Tomorrow, men will come to take you to our estate. You can refuse. But know that refusal means taking your chances alone. He left before she could respond. Yun-soo watched her with those knowing eyes. Sleep, child. Tomorrow will be overwhelming enough. But Naomi didn't sleep. She lay awake, her mind racing, her phone clutched in her hand. She read everything she could find about the Han family. Crime. Power. Violence. Money. Influence that reached into every corner of Korean society. Han Ji-hun, the heir. Ruthless. Cold. Feared even by other criminals. 29 years old and already legendary for his brutality. And his mother wanted Naomi to marry him. It was insane. Impossible. Naomi was nobody. A waitress from Lagos who could barely afford her rent. She didn't belong in this world of expensive suits and private hospitals and assassination attempts. But as dawn broke through her window, Naomi couldn't shake one thought. When Ji-hun had touched her face, checking her injury, his hands had been gentle. Careful. Like she was something precious that might break. Monsters weren't gentle. Were they? The next morning, Naomi was discharged. The doctor seemed nervous, rushing through her paperwork, avoiding eye contact. Two men in black suits waited outside her room. Not asking. Just waiting. I want to go home, Naomi told them. We'll take you, the shorter one said. His Korean accent was thick but his English was clear. They drove her to her apartment in a black car with tinted windows. Naomi's hands shook as she unlocked her door. The men waited in the hallway. She stepped inside and her breath caught. Her apartment had been destroyed. Furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, contents scattered. Her clothes torn. Her laptop smashed. On her mirror, written in red lipstick, were two words in English. Go home. Naomi's knees buckled. One of the men caught her arm, steadying her. We should leave, he said quietly. Not safe here. Who did this? People who want to scare you. Or people who want you dead. Does it matter? He was already guiding her out. Boss said you might be stubborn. Said to bring you even if you argue. Naomi didn't argue. She was too scared to argue. She let them lead her back to the car, watched Seoul pass by the tinted windows, and tried not to think about what she was leaving behind. Her simple life. Her invisibility. Her safety in being nobody. The Han estate sat outside the city, surrounded by high walls and armed guards. The gates opened for their car and Naomi felt like she was entering another world. Manicured gardens. Stone pathways. A mansion that looked like it belonged in a historical drama. Men in suits patrolling the grounds. Cameras everywhere. The car stopped in front of the main entrance. Yun-soo stood waiting, her arm in a cast but looking regal despite her injuries. "Welcome home, Naomi," Yun-soo said. Home. The word felt foreign. Wrong. But Naomi didn't have the strength to fight anymore. She followed Yun-soo inside, through hallways decorated with art that probably cost more than Naomi's entire life savings. Staff bowed as they passed. Some watched her with curiosity. Others with suspicion. A woman in a crisp uniform showed Naomi to a guest room. Not a room. A suite. Bigger than her entire apartment had been. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking gardens. A bed large enough for 4 people. A bathroom with marble everywhere. The closet was already filled with clothes, all in her size, all expensive brands she'd only seen in magazine ads. "How did you know my size?" Naomi asked. The woman smiled. "Madam Yun-soo is very thorough. Dinner is at 7. Someone will come to escort you." She bowed and left. Naomi sat on the bed and finally let herself cry. Not loud sobs but quiet tears that slid down her cheeks as she hugged her knees. What had her life become? 3 days ago she'd been worried about getting enough tips to send extra money home. Now she was trapped in a mansion, wearing clothes she didn't choose, surrounded by criminals who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. She wanted to call her mother but what would she say? "Hey Mom, I saved a crime boss and now I'm supposed to marry her son." Her mother would have a heart attack. Her younger sisters would think she was joking. Nobody back home would understand this. Naomi barely understood it herself. At 7, someone knocked. A young man, maybe her age, dressed in the same black suit all the guards wore. "Miss Brooks? Madam Yun-soo requests your presence for dinner." Requests. Like she had a choice. Naomi had changed into one of the dresses from the closet, a simple black one that somehow fit perfectly. She followed the guard through more hallways until they reached a dining room that looked like something from a period drama. Long table. Crystal chandelier. Place settings that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Yun-soo sat at the head of the table. Ji-hun sat to her right. They both looked up as Naomi entered, and she felt suddenly self-conscious. Out of place. Like a child playing dress-up in adult clothes. "Sit," Yun-soo gestured to the chair across from Ji-hun. "You look lovely." Naomi sat. A staff member appeared immediately, pouring water into her glass. Another brought soup. The formality of it all made her uncomfortable. "How are you settling in?" Yun-soo asked. "I'm not settling in. I'm just here until this threat passes, right? Then I go back to my life." Yun-soo and Ji-hun exchanged another of those looks. Ji-hun spoke, his voice calm. "There is no going back. Once you're associated with this family, that association is permanent. Our enemies don't forget. They don't forgive." So I'm trapped here. You're protected here, Yun-Soo corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Naomi's voice came out sharper than she intended. Because it feels like a very expensive prison. Ji-hun leaned forward. You're angry. I understand. Your life was disrupted. But you're alive. If you'd gone home after the accident, you'd be dead by now. The people who tried to kill my mother don't leave loose ends. Why me? Why is marrying me so important? Yun-Soo smiled. Because you're not from this world. You have no agenda. No family debts. No political connections. You saved my life because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted something in return. That kind of purity is rare. Precious. I'm not pure. I'm just a person. Exactly. Yun-Soo's eyes were warm now. You're real. Honest. My son has been surrounded by liars and schemers his whole life. He needs someone who sees him as a man, not a weapon or a tool. Naomi looked at Ji-hun. He met her gaze steadily, no emotion on his face. What do you want? She asked him directly. I want my mother safe. I want my family protected. He paused. What do you want? To go home. To Lagos. To see my family. That can be arranged. After the wedding, you can visit. We'll provide security. After the wedding? Naomi's voice rose. You keep talking about this wedding like it's decided. I haven't agreed to anything. Then what will you do? Ji-hun's question was genuine, not mocking. Where will you go? Your apartment is destroyed. Your job put you on indefinite leave after the accident. Someone is actively trying to kill witnesses to my mother's assassination attempt. What's your plan? Naomi had no answer. She hated that he was right. Hated feeling trapped. Hated that her simple act of heroism had led to this impossible situation. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, Yun-Soo said gently. But think inside these walls where it's safe. Dinner continued in tense silence. The food was incredible, better than anything Naomi had eaten in Korea, but it tasted like ash in her mouth. When it was over, she excused herself and fled back to her room. She stood at the window, looking out at the gardens lit by soft lights, and felt more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. A knock on her door made her jump. Yes. Ji-hun entered without waiting for permission. He'd removed his jacket, loosened his tie. He looked almost human like this, less like a criminal and more like just a tired man at the end of a long day. I wanted to apologize, he said. That surprised her. For what? For everything. This situation. The pressure. My mother can be overwhelming when she wants something. He moved to stand beside her at the window. She's not wrong though. About the danger. About you needing protection. I don't want to need protection. I want my normal life back. Normal is overrated. He smiled slightly. You know what I wanted when I was your age? To be normal. To work a regular job. To date someone who didn't know my family name. To not have blood on my hands before I was old enough to drink legally. Naomi looked at him. Really looked. Saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. How old were you? When you first killed someone? 15. Man who betrayed my father. I was supposed to watch. Learn. But something went wrong and I had to finish it. His voice was flat, emotionless. I threw up after. Cried myself to sleep. By 17, I didn't cry anymore. That's horrible. That's my life. He turned to face her fully. I can't offer you normal, Naomi. I can't offer you safety outside these walls. I can't promise you a love story or a happy ending. But I can promise you'll never be invisible again. You'll never be just another face in the crowd. You'll matter. To this family. To me. Naomi's throat tightened. Why do you care? You don't even know me. I know you ran into traffic to save a stranger. I know you're brave enough to be terrified and still stay. I know when I touched your face in the hospital, you didn't flinch away from the monster everyone says I am. His voice dropped lower. And I know that maybe, just maybe, you're exactly what I've been missing. Before Naomi could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it and his entire demeanor changed. Every muscle tensed. His eyes went cold. Stay in your room. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me or my mother. He was already moving toward the door. What's happening? Someone breached the outer perimeter. It might be nothing. But until I know for sure, you stay here. Understand? Naomi nodded, fear flooding through her. Ji-hun left, and she locked the door as instructed. She heard shouting from somewhere in the house. Running footsteps. Her heart hammered. She grabbed her phone but realized she had nobody to call. No one who could help her here. Minutes passed like hours. Naomi pressed herself against the wall furthest from the door, watching it like it might explode at any moment. More shouting. Something that sounded like gunshots, distant but unmistakable. Her breath came in short gasps. Then silence. Terrible, heavy silence. The doorknob rattled. Naomi's heart stopped. Naomi, it's me. Open the door. Ji-hun's voice. She rushed to unlock it. He entered quickly, scanning the room before looking at her. There was blood on his shirt. Not his, she realized. Someone else's. Are you hurt? He asked. She shook her head, unable to speak. 3 men tried to get into the estate. Professional. Well armed. They're dead now. He said it matter-of-factly, like reporting the weather. This was a targeted attack. They were coming for you. For me. Naomi's voice cracked. My mother was right. You're a loose end they want eliminated. He moved closer. This proves you can't leave. Can't go back to your old life. They'll keep trying until they succeed. So what? I just stay locked up here forever. You stay here until I eliminate everyone who wants you dead. Then you can have whatever life you want. With me. As my wife. His eyes searched hers. I won't force you. But I need you to understand. This is life or death. Not a game. Naomi sank onto the bed, her legs giving out. Ji-hun sat beside her, careful not to touch her but close enough that she could feel his warmth. I'm scared, she whispered. Good. Fear keeps you alive. He was quiet for a moment. I'm scared too. She looked at him in surprise. Of what? Of failing to protect you. Of my mother being right that you're what I need and then losing you before I figure out what that means. He finally met her eyes. Of the fact that a woman I barely know has already become someone I'd kill for. The intensity in his voice made Naomi shiver. This wasn't romance. It wasn't love. It was something rawer. More desperate. 2 people thrown together by violence and circumstance, finding something unexpected in the chaos. I don't know how to be part of this world, Naomi said. I'll teach you. My mother will teach you. You're stronger than you think. He stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow we'll talk about next steps. About the wedding. About what this life actually means. He left her alone with her thoughts and the distant sound of men cleaning up whatever mess had been made in the garden. Naomi lay back on the bed, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. 3 days ago she'd been nobody. Now people were trying to kill her. Now a dangerous man said he'd kill for her. Now she had to decide if surviving meant surrendering to a destiny she never chose, or fighting for a freedom that might get her killed. Sleep didn't come easily. When it finally did, Naomi dreamed of trucks and gunfire and Ji-hun's hands covered in blood. She woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and someone knocking softly on her door. Miss Brooks? Madam Yun-soo requests your presence for breakfast. Naomi showered, dressed in jeans and a simple blouse from the endless closet, and followed the same young guard from yesterday. The dining room was smaller this time, more intimate. Yun-soo sat alone, reading something on a tablet, her injured arm resting in its cast. Sit, child. We have much to discuss. Yun-soo gestured to the chair beside her, not across. Closer. More familiar. How did you sleep? I didn't, really. Understandable. Last night was frightening. But you're safe now. The men who came for you won't be coming again. Ever. There was steel in Yun-soo's voice. A promise and a threat wrapped together. Breakfast was served. Rice, soup, side dishes Naomi didn't recognize. She picked at the food, her stomach too knotted to properly eat. You're wondering why I'm so insistent about you marrying my son, Yun-soo said. It wasn't a question. Let me tell you a story. When I was 23, younger than you, I married into this family. I didn't want to. I was a professor's daughter. I read books and dreamed of teaching literature. Then I met the Han family's eldest son at a charity event. He was handsome. Dangerous. He decided he wanted me. Naomi listened, captivated despite herself. I said no. For 6 months I refused. Then men came for my family. Threatened my father. Burned down his school. I had a choice, marry into the Han family or watch everyone I loved suffer. So I married. And I hated every moment. For the first year, I hated my husband. Hated this house. Hated the violence and the blood and the fear. Yun-soo paused, sipping her tea. Then I had Ji-hun. And everything changed. How? Because suddenly I had someone to protect. Someone to live for beyond myself. I learned this world. Mastered it. Became stronger than the men who thought I was just a pretty decoration. When my husband died, the family was falling apart. Rivals circling. Internal betrayals. Everyone expected the Han family to collapse. Yun-soo smiled. Instead, I rebuilt it. Made it more powerful than ever. Because I chose to stop being a victim and become a force. I'm not you. No. You're braver. You saved a stranger without thinking about cost or reward. That's rare. That's powerful. Yun-soo reached over, touched Naomi's hand with her good one. I'm not asking you to love my son. Not yet. I'm asking you to survive. To be smart. To see the opportunity in the crisis. What opportunity? I'm trapped here. You're positioned here. There's a difference. As my daughter-in-law, you'll have protection, resources, influence. You can help your family in Lagos. Send your sisters to any school in the world. Give your mother a house. Live a life most people only dream about. Yun-Su's eyes gleamed. Or you can refuse. Go back to being invisible. Hoping those who want you dead eventually forget. They won't. Naomi pulled her hand back. This feels like manipulation. It is manipulation. I'm very good at it. But that doesn't make it less true. Yun-Su's voice softened. I see myself in you, child. Same fear. Same pride. Same stubborn determination to not be controlled. But I also see something I didn't have. You have a choice in who you become. I'm offering you power. The question is whether you're brave enough to take it. Before Naomi could respond, Ji-hun entered. He'd changed from last night's bloody clothes into a fresh suit, hair still damp from a shower. He looked at Naomi and something flickered across his face. Concern. Relief that she was still here. Mother. Naomi. He nodded to both. We need to talk. All of us. They moved to a sitting room. Ji-hun closed the doors, ensuring privacy. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept either. The men from last night were sent by the Choi family. Mid-level organization trying to move up by taking out competition. They thought killing Mother would destabilize us. When that failed, they decided to eliminate the witness. Ji-hun's voice was cold, clinical. I've dealt with their leadership. The Choi family no longer exists. Naomi's stomach turned. You killed them? All of them? The ones responsible? Yes. No apology. No hesitation. Just fact. They threatened what's mine. There are consequences for that. I'm not yours. You saved my mother. That makes you family. And I protect family. Always. He sat across from her, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. I know you're struggling with this. I know it's not the life you imagined. But you need to understand something. In this world, hesitation kills. Weakness kills. You can't be halfway in and halfway out. You're either under my protection or you're alone. Choose. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. But it's real. His eyes held hers. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to trust me. To let me keep you alive. The rest we can figure out later. Naomi looked between Ji-hun and Yun-Su. Both watching her. Both waiting. She thought about her life before. The invisibility. The struggle. The loneliness of being foreign in a country that saw her as temporary. Different. Less than. She thought about her mother's voice on their weekly calls, tired from working 2 jobs. Her sisters who deserved better than the poverty that had defined their childhood. She thought about Ji-hun's hands, gentle on her face despite the blood on his shirt. About Yun-Su's story of transformation from victim to power. About the strange, terrifying possibility that maybe she could be more than she'd ever imagined. If I agree, Naomi said slowly, I have conditions. Ji-hun sat back. Name them. I want to talk to my family. Not lies. Truth. I need them to know I'm safe in choosing this. Agreed. But carefully. No details that could put them at risk. I want to keep learning Korean. Get better at it. I won't be the foreign wife who can't speak properly. I'll arrange the best tutors. Yun-Su smiled. And I want time. To understand this world before I marry into it. To know who I'm becoming. Naomi's voice strengthened. I won't be rushed into a wedding just because you say so. Give me 3 months. To learn. To decide if I can really do this. Ji-hun looked at his mother. Some silent communication passed between them. Yun-soo nodded slightly. 3 months, Ji-hun agreed. You stay here. Learn the family business. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn who we are. Then you decide. But know this, Naomi. During those 3 months, you're still mine to protect. Anyone who threatens you is threatening me. That won't change whether you marry me or not. Why? Why do you care this much? Ji-hun was quiet for a long moment. Because when you ran into traffic to save my mother, you didn't see a crime boss. You saw a person who needed help. Nobody has looked at me like that, like I'm human and not a weapon, since I was a child. I want to keep that. Even if it's selfish. The honesty in his voice cracked something in Naomi's chest. She nodded slowly. 3 months. Then I'll give you my answer. 3 months, Ji-hun echoed. He stood, held out his hand. Welcome to the Han family, Naomi Brooks. She took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, alive. When she looked into his eyes, she saw the same fear she felt reflected back at her. Two people standing on the edge of something unknown. Something dangerous. Something that might destroy them both or remake them entirely. The next weeks blurred together. Naomi fell into a routine that felt surreal. Mornings with Korean tutors, her language improving rapidly when survival depended on understanding what people said. Afternoons with Yun-soo, learning the intricacies of the family business. Not the violence, but the politics. The alliances. The careful dance of power that kept them alive. Ji-hun taught her to shoot. They spent hours in the estate's private range, his body behind hers as he corrected her stance, his hands guiding her grip. He was patient. Careful. Never assuming. Always asking permission before touching her. The contradiction fascinated Naomi. This man who killed without hesitation treated her like she might break. Why are you so gentle with me? She asked one afternoon, after successfully hitting the target 3 times in a row. Ji-hun reloaded her gun, handed it back. Because everyone else fears me. I don't want you to fear me. I do fear you. I know. But maybe someday you won't. Maybe someday you'll see past the monster to whatever's left underneath. He was quiet. My mother sees it. She says you bring out the man I was supposed to be before this life twisted me. Naomi lowered the gun. Who were you supposed to be? I don't know anymore. Maybe we can figure it out together. Days turned to weeks. Naomi found herself settling into the strange rhythm of estate life. The staff stopped treating her like a temporary guest. They bowed with real respect. Asked her preferences. Included her in household decisions. She was becoming part of something. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like belonging. She video called her mother, carefully explaining she'd met someone. A good man from a powerful family. Things were moving quickly but she was safe. Happy, even. Her mother heard the things Naomi didn't say, the careful omissions, but didn't push. Just made Naomi promise to send pictures when she could. Her sisters squealed over the few photos Naomi shared of the estate's gardens. They thought she was dating rich. They didn't need to know about the guns or the death threats or the fact that their sister was learning to shoot in case someone tried to kill her again. 6 weeks in, everything changed. Naomi was in the library, reading a Korean novel with a dictionary beside her, when Ji-hun burst in. His face was murderous. Council meeting. Now. You need to be there. He didn't wait for questions, just turned and expected her to follow. Naomi hurried after him through hallways she'd learned to navigate. They entered a conference room she'd never seen before. Dark wood. No windows. A long table surrounded by men in expensive suits. All conversation stopped when she entered. Every eye turned to her. Most looked surprised. Some looked hostile. Ji-hun pulled out a chair beside his own at the head of the table. Sit. She sat. Yun-soo was already there, watching everything with those calculating eyes. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. We have a problem, Ji-hun said to the assembled men. Someone in this organization has been feeding information to the Min family. Details about our operations. Our security protocols. Our weaknesses. His voice dropped to something deadly. And they've been paid to deliver Naomi to the mints. Alive. Naomi's blood went cold. All eyes turned to her again. One man, older with gray at his temples, spoke. With respect, this is exactly why we warned you. The girl is a liability. She's not one of us. She makes you vulnerable. Park, Ji-hun's voice could have cut glass. Choose your next words carefully. Park stood, undeterred. She's a waitress. A nobody. You've risked everything for her. Men have died protecting her. Resources diverted. And for what? Because she pulled your mother from traffic? We've all sacrificed for this family. We don't demand to marry into it. Another man nodded. Park's right. This obsession is clouding your judgment. The solution is obvious. Send her away. Pay her off. Let the mints take her if they want her so badly. End this threat. Naomi felt herself trembling. These men were discussing her death casually. Like she wasn't sitting right there. Like she was a problem to be eliminated, not a person. Ji-hun stood slowly. The room went silent. He walked around the table until he stood behind Park. You think she's a liability? A weakness? His hand rested on Park's shoulder. The older man tensed. Let me clarify something for everyone here. Naomi Brooks is not a weakness. She is mine. Mine to protect. Mine to defend. Mine to cherish. And anyone who suggests otherwise is questioning my authority. We're trying to protect you, Park said. Protect the family. No. You're trying to control me. There's a difference. Ji-hun's grip tightened on Park's shoulder. I know who the traitor is. The one feeding information to the mints. The one who arranged for them to know Naomi's movements. The one who thought he could manipulate me into abandoning her. Park went pale. You. Ji-hun's voice was soft. Deadly. You've been with my family for 20 years. Stood beside my father. Helped raise me. And you betrayed us for money. For ambition. Because you thought I was weak. Boss, I can explain. Explain to someone who cares. Ji-hun stepped back. You're finished. Exiled. If you're still in Korea by sunrise, you're dead. If you ever contact this family again, you're dead. If I hear you've hurt anyone in my organization, you're dead. Do you understand? Park's hands shook. You're making a mistake. She's not worth this. Ji-hun moved so fast Naomi barely saw it. One moment Park was standing. The next he was slammed against the wall, Ji-hun's hand around his throat. Say one more word about her. Give me a reason. Yun-soo spoke quietly. Ji-hun. He's not worth it. Let him go. Ji-hun released Park, who collapsed to the floor gasping. Get out. Now. Two guards hauled Park from the room. The other men at the table sat frozen, watching. Waiting. Ji-hun returned to his seat beside Naomi. He took her hand under the table, squeezed gently. She squeezed back, trying to stop shaking. Anyone else have concerns about Naomi? Ji-hun asked the room. His voice was calm now. Controlled. Anyone else think she's a weakness? That I should abandon her? Send her to our enemies? Kill her to simplify things? Silence. Heavy and absolute. Good. Because let me be very clear. Naomi will be my wife. She will be part of this family. She will have the same protection, the same respect, the same authority as my mother. And anyone who forgets that will answer to me personally. He looked at each man individually. Is that understood? Murmurs of agreement. Nods. Some sincere, some grudging. But no one argued. The meeting ended. Men filed out, avoiding looking at Naomi. When the room was empty except for her, Ji-hun, and Yun-soo, Naomi finally let herself breathe. That was terrifying, she whispered. That was necessary, Yun-soo said. They needed to understand. You're not a temporary distraction. You're permanent. Park wanted to kill me. Park wanted power. He thought removing you would make Ji-hun easier to control. Yun-soo smiled coldly. He was wrong. Ji-hun still held Naomi's hand. I'm sorry you had to see that. Sorry you had to hear them talk about you like you're disposable. You defended me. Naomi's voice shook. You could have killed him but you didn't. Because of me. Because I'm changing you. Yes. He turned to face her fully. You are changing me. Making me question everything I thought I knew about strength and power. Park was right about one thing. You do make me vulnerable. But he was wrong about it being a weakness. Caring about you makes me more dangerous, not less. Because now I have something worth fighting for beyond just survival. Naomi pulled her hand free, stood up, paced the room. I can't do this. I can't be responsible for you killing people or exiling them or whatever else happens because of me. They made their choices. Park chose betrayal. The consequences are his. But it's all because of me. Because you decided you want me. What if I'm not worth it? What if I can't be what you need me to be? Ji-hun stood, caught her hand again, pulled her to stop pacing. Look at me. She did, reluctantly. You are exactly what I need you to be. Honest. Real. Someone who makes me want to be better than the monster everyone expects. I don't need you to be ruthless or cold or comfortable with violence. I need you to be you. That's enough. How can you be sure? Because in 6 weeks, you've learned to speak better Korean than people who've lived here for years. You've learned to shoot. To read the politics of this family. To hold your own in conversations with my mother, who intimidates trained killers. You're stronger than you think. And you're exactly as strong as you need to be. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. I'm scared. All the time. Of the violence. Of the threats. Of losing myself in this world. Fear is smart. Fear keeps you sharp. He brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. But don't let fear stop you from living. From choosing what you want instead of just surviving what you're given. What do you want, Ji-hun? Really? He was quiet for a long time. I want to wake up and not count how many enemies I made the day before. I want to look in the mirror and see a man, not a weapon. I want someone who knows exactly who I am, what I've done, and chooses to stay anyway. His voice dropped. I want you. Not because my mother said so. Not because you're useful or convenient. Because when you look at me, I remember what it feels like to be human. The honesty in his words broke something loose in Naomi's chest. She stepped closer, eliminating the careful distance they'd maintained for weeks. I'm still figuring out if I can do this. If I can be part of this family. This life. I know. You have time. But know this. Whether you marry me or not, you're under my protection. That doesn't change. You matter to me. That doesn't change either. Naomi looked up at him, this dangerous man with gentle hands and eyes that held too much pain for someone so young. She reached up, touched his face. He went still, barely breathing. She traced the line of his jaw, feeling the tension there, the control he maintained over every reaction. You matter to me too, she whispered. I don't know when it happened. But it did. Ji-hun's hand came up to cover hers against his face. Naomi. Don't say anything. Just let me have this moment of honesty before I second guess it. He smiled. Actually smiled. Not the cold, controlled expression he showed everyone else, but something real and warm and devastating. Then he leaned down slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met softly, carefully, like neither of them quite believed this was happening. The kiss deepened. Naomi's hand slid into his hair. His arms came around her waist, pulling her closer but still gentle. Still treating her like something precious. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. That changes things, Ji-hun said quietly. I know. You're 3 months. You still get them. I won't pressure you. But know that I want this. Want you. Not as an obligation. As a choice. I'm starting to want it too. That's what terrifies me. He laughed softly. Welcome to my world. Where wanting something makes it a target. Yun-soo had left at some point during their conversation. Giving them privacy. Or just knowing her son well enough to see what was coming. Naomi and Ji-hun stood in the empty conference room, holding each other, and Naomi felt the last of her resistance crumbling. This was insane. Impossible. She was falling for a man who killed people. Who lived by violence. Who would always be surrounded by danger. But she was falling anyway. Against all logic and self-preservation, she was falling. I need air, she said. The gardens? I'll walk with you. They left the conference room hand in hand. Staff who saw them smiled, word already spreading that something had shifted between the boss and the woman who saved his mother. In the garden, among the carefully tended flowers and stone paths, Naomi felt like she could breathe again. Tell me about your father, she said. Yun-soo told me some. But I want to hear it from you. Ji-hun was quiet, walking beside her. He was hard. Believed in strength above everything. He taught me that love was weakness. That caring made you vulnerable. That the only thing that mattered was power and control. Do you believe that? I used to. Before you. He stopped walking, turned to face her. My father would have killed you after you served your purpose. Would have seen you exactly as Park did, a liability. But he's dead and I'm not him. I get to choose what kind of man I am. What kind of leader? What kind of husband? What if you can't protect me? What if something happens? Then I'll burn down the world to avenge you. He said it simply. A fact. But I'd rather spend my life keeping you safe. They walked until the sun set and the garden lights came on. Talked about everything and nothing. Their childhoods, their fears, their hopes for futures they'd stopped believing in. When they finally went inside, something had fundamentally changed between them. They weren't pretending anymore. Weren't keeping careful distance. This was real. Terrifying and impossible and real. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't fear keeping her awake. It was possibility. The strange, dizzying realization that maybe her life hadn't ended when she saved Yun-soo. Maybe it had just begun. 2 months into her 3-month trial, the Min family made their move. It wasn't subtle. A full assault on the Han estate during a family dinner. Naomi was laughing at something Yun-soo said, actually relaxed for the first time in weeks, when the windows exploded inward. Glass everywhere. Gunfire erupting from multiple directions. Ji-hun threw himself over Naomi, pulling her to the ground as the table they'd been sitting at splintered from bullets. Guards poured in from every entrance. The room became a war zone. Naomi pressed herself against the floor, Ji-hun's body covering hers, his weight reassuring even as terror flooded through her. She heard Yun-soo shouting orders, completely calm despite the chaos. Heard men screaming. Heard the distinctive sound of people dying. Stay down, Ji-hun growled in her ear. Don't move. But one of the attackers got past the guards. Naomi saw him coming, saw the gun trained on Ji-hun's back. She didn't think. Just like in the traffic accident, her body moved before her mind caught up. She grabbed the gun from Ji-hun's ankle holster, the one he'd taught her to access in emergencies, and fired. The shot went wild, missed completely. But it surprised the attacker enough that he turned toward her. Ji-hun spun, saw the threat, put 3 bullets in the man before he could fire. Then it was over. As suddenly as it started, the attack ended. Dead bodies scattered across the dining room. Guards checking each one. The acrid smell of gunpowder thick in the air. Ji-hun pulled Naomi up, checked her frantically for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? I'm fine. I'm fine. Your mother. I'm perfectly well, Yun-soo said, brushing glass from her dress. She had a small cut on her cheek but otherwise looked unruffled. Though my dining room is ruined. This is the 3rd time this year. I'm starting to think we should just eat in the kitchen. The absurdity of the comment broke the tension. Naomi started laughing, borderline hysterical. Ji-hun pulled her against his chest, held her while she shook. You tried to shoot him. You could have been killed. He was going to shoot you. That's my job. Protecting you. Not the other way around. Naomi pulled back to glare at him. I'm not helpless. You taught me to shoot. Did you think I'd just lie there and watch you die? Something fierce and proud crossed his face. You're insane. Brave and insane. I learned from the best. Yun-soo watched them with satisfaction. The Min family just made a fatal mistake. They attacked us in our own home. Ji-hun, you know what needs to be done. Already planned. Ji-hun's voice went cold. By morning, there won't be a Min family to worry about. He left with most of the guards. Naomi and Yun-soo were moved to a secure room while the estate was swept for additional threats. They sat together on a sofa, both still covered in glass dust and adrenaline. You love him, Yun-soo said. Not a question. Naomi didn't bother denying it. I think I do. I didn't mean to. Love rarely asks permission. Especially the kind that lasts. Yun-soo smiled. You shot at a man to save my son. Even though you were terrified. Even though your shot missed. You acted. That's the moment I knew for certain you were right for him. Because I'm violent now. Because you're loyal. Loyalty is rarer than violence in this world. And more valuable. Yun-soo touched Naomi's hand. You don't have to be like us to belong with us. You just have to stand with us when it matters. You did that tonight. I'm still scared. Of this life. Of what it's making me become. Good. The day you stop being scared is the day you become like the ones we fight against. Fear means you still have humanity. Don't lose that. It's why Ji-hun needs you. Hours later, Ji-hun returned. Blood on his clothes, exhaustion in his eyes, but alive. Naomi ran to him, didn't care about the blood or the guards watching or propriety. She threw her arms around him and held on like he might disappear. It's done, he said quietly into her hair. The mints are finished. No one will come for you again. You're safe. I wasn't worried about me. I was worried about you. He pulled back to look at her face. I'm the dangerous one, remember? You're also the one I care about. Which makes you the one I worry about. She cupped his face in her hands. Don't die on me, Ji-hun. I'm not ready for that. Planning to stick around then? I think maybe I am. He kissed her there in the hallway, in front of the guards and staff and anyone who cared to watch. Kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. Marry me. Not because of my mother's plan. Not because you're protecting yourself. Because you want to. Because this insane situation somehow became real. Naomi's heart hammered. This was it. The moment that would define everything. She thought about her old life, serving tables and being invisible. She thought about her family in Lagos, their struggles and dreams. She thought about the last 2 months, learning to navigate a world that should have destroyed her but somehow made her stronger. Most of all, she thought about Ji-hun. The contradiction of him. Violent and gentle. Feared and vulnerable. A man trying to be better than what he was raised to be. A man who made her feel seen. Valued. Powerful in ways that had nothing to do with money or status. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was blinding. Pure joy that transformed his whole face. He picked her up, spun her around despite his exhaustion, despite the blood and the violence and everything wrong with this situation. When he set her down, he was laughing. Actually laughing. Yun-soo appeared from somewhere, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. Finally. I was beginning to think I'd have to orchestrate another attack to speed things along. Mother, Ji-hun said warningly, but he was still smiling. What? I'm old. I want grandchildren before I die. Yun-soo hugged Naomi carefully. Welcome to the family, officially. You've been mine since you saved my life, but now it's real. The next weeks were a blur of preparation. Naomi's family flew in from Lagos, her mother and sisters overwhelmed by everything. Naomi had been honest with them, as honest as she could be. Her mother had held her hands and asked one question. Does he treat you well? Better than I deserve, Naomi had answered. Then the rest doesn't matter. Her sisters loved Ji-hun, or at least loved his money and the estate and the designer clothes he bought them. They didn't see the darkness in him, the violence he was capable of. Or maybe they just chose not to look. Either way, they were happy for her. That was enough. The wedding was small, intimate. Not the massive political spectacle it could have been. Just family and the most trusted members of the organization. Naomi wore a dress that combined Korean and Nigerian elements, honoring both parts of who she was becoming. Ji-hun wore a traditional suit, looking devastatingly handsome and slightly terrified. When they stood together, exchanging vows, Naomi felt the weight of every choice that had led here. The truck accident. The hospital. The threats and violence. The slow, impossible fall into love with someone she should have run from. But looking into Ji-hun's eyes, she felt no regret. Only certainty. "I promise to stand with you," she said, her vows simple. "In danger and in peace. In fear and in courage. To see you as you are and love you anyway. I promise to protect you," Ji-hun said. "To honor you. To be worthy of the gift you've given me by choosing this life. By choosing me." They sealed their vows with a kiss that felt like a beginning. Like a promise that maybe, against all odds, they could build something good from the chaos that brought them together. The reception was in the gardens where they'd had so many conversations. Where Naomi had slowly fallen for the man everyone called a monster. Where she'd learned that monsters were sometimes just people trapped by circumstances and choices made long before they could understand the cost. Yun-soo gave a toast, her voice strong despite her age. "Love finds us in strange ways. My daughter-in-law saved my life and in doing so, saved my son's soul. She brought light into darkness. Hope into despair. She proved that strength isn't always about violence. Sometimes it's about the courage to stay when leaving would be easier. To love when fear would be safer. Naomi, you are exactly what this family needed. What my son needed. Welcome home." Later, when the celebration wound down and guests began to leave, Naomi and Ji-hun stood alone in the garden. Married. Bound by choice and law and something deeper than either. "Any regrets?" Ji-hun asked, holding her hand. "Ask me in 50 years. Naomi smiled. "What about you?" "My only regret is not meeting you sooner. Before I became so broken." "You're not broken. You're surviving. There's a difference." She leaned against him. "And we have time. To heal. To build something better." "Something better," he echoed. "I like that." Above them, stars appeared in the Seoul sky. Around them, the estate settled into peaceful quiet. For the first time since the accident, Naomi felt truly safe. Not because of the walls or the guards or the power of the family name. But because of the man beside her who'd learned to be gentle. Who'd chosen to protect instead of destroy. Who'd let himself be vulnerable enough to love. She'd saved a woman's life on a Tuesday afternoon. By Friday, she'd been claimed by Korea's most dangerous family. Now, months later, she was married to their heir. It was insane. Impossible. Everything she never knew she wanted. Naomi Brooks had been invisible once. Now she was Naomi Han. Wife. Partner. The woman who'd made a monster remember his humanity. And somehow, that was exactly who she was meant to be. If you enjoyed this story of how one act of courage changed everything, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories. Drop a comment telling us what you would do in Naomi's situation. Would you have taken the chance on love, or would fear have driven you away? Let me know below, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous choice is the one that leads to the greatest happiness. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.